Hi there, this is Ranjit, and in this video, we'll be comparing the LE1S with this Redmi Note 3. Quite a few of you have asked me to do this comparison, and I have to say both of these handsets do offer us a lot in terms of what we get for the price. Yes, the LE1S is slightly cheaper. This is sold in India for 11,000 rupees, but we have two variants of this Redmi Note 3. The cheaper variant that comes with 2 gigabytes of RAM costs 10,000, whereas the 3 gigabyte RAM model, which I think so should be comparable to this one, costs 12,000 rupees. And I have made a lot of points, as you can see over here, so we will be discussing about that, and I'll tell you my differences regarding the devices. And first thing, if we talk about the build quality and the overall styling, here I would say that both of them have actually pretty good build quality because they are made up of actually metal. But if I have to pick up one, I would certainly say that the build quality and the in-hand feel is slightly better on the LE1S. The LE1S also feels a little bit more compact in the hand if you look closely, because if you notice the bezels are a little bit thinner on the LE1S. Also, it just feels a little bit better in the hand. So in terms of build quality and styling, I would say I would give the vote to the LE1S. Next, if we move to the screen quality, both of them sport a 1080p screen. But here, if I have to pick up one device, I would say this Redmi Note 3 has a slightly better panel. The color reproduction is more accurate on the Redmi Note 3 by a small margin. So my vote would go for the Redmi Note 3 regarding the screen quality. Next, if we move to RAM management, both these devices, again, I'll be comparing the 3 gigabyte RAM models. Both of them have the 3 gigabytes of RAM, but I would say the RAM management is slightly better on the Redmi Note 3. Even when I was doing heavy multitasking and using apps like Glovebox and Push Bullet, the RAM management was actually very good on the Redmi Note 3. I never had problems regarding RAM management on this Redmi Note 3. Whereas sometimes some of the apps get booted out of the memory on the LE1S. So in terms of RAM management, I would say I would give the vote again to the Redmi Note 3. Also, if we talk about the performance between both these devices, actually the chipset used in these two devices is completely different. The LE1S is powered by the MediaTek Helios X10 processor. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad processor, it's a fairly good processor. But I feel the Redmi Note 3 has that new Snapdragon 650 SoC, which is actually slightly more powerful. And again, it's not a fair comparison because both these devices run a different UI, a custom UI that we get. But I have installed Google launchers on both these devices, and I have to say the Redmi Note 3 is slightly faster. At times, I would say just about 2-3% times, I'd notice some minor lag with this LE1S when I was jumping between the apps and doing heavy multitasking. That was not the case with this Redmi Note 3. So also in day-to-day performance, I would say this Redmi Note 3 was slightly better device. Next, if we move to the gaming performance, actually both these devices did pretty good in gaming. Both were not flawless because even on the Redmi Note 3 with Nova 3, I noticed some lag. But again, if we compare it with other heavy games like Asphalt 8 and Modern Combat 5, all of them ran without any issues. And that was also the case with the LE1S. It also did very good in gaming. But one thing that I noticed is that after about 15 odd minutes of gaming, I felt that the LE1S heated up a lot more compared to the Redmi Note 3. So if you play a lot of games, I would say, then the Redmi Note 3 will get my vote because it simply does not heat up as much as the LE1S. Again, if we talk about the heating, it's the same thing with extended usage. I would say both of them get a little bit warm at the back because it's having that metallic back. But again, the LE1S went a little bit higher in terms of the temperatures that I have noticed. Next, if we move to the charging time and the charger supplied, I would say that the LE1S wins here by a huge margin. For example, from 15% to 100%, the LE1S with its supplied charger, that is actually a fast charger, could charge just in about 80 minutes. That is 1 hour 20 minutes. But on the other hand, from 15% to 100%, this Redmi Note 3 took slightly over 2.5 hours. But again, the battery capacity is a lot higher on the Redmi Note 3. But in terms of charging speed, I would say the LE1S went ahead. Now, moving to some other additional features that both these devices have, for example, the IR blaster and the fingerprint scanner. I would say the fingerprint scanner is very good on both the device, so it's neutral. Both of them actually perform very well. Even it's much better than many other higher spec handsets that cost almost double. So in terms of fingerprint scanner, both of them perform brilliantly. But also both of them also have this IR blaster. But I would say that I will give the vote to the Redmi Note 3 in this department for the simple fact that its IR blaster works with third-party remote apps like Peel remote app, etc. Whereas you are stuck with the supplied remote control app on this LE1S. The Peel app simply did not work with the LE1S. So it's I would say this Redmi Note 3 is a lot more open. Next, if we talk about the cellular call quality, again here I would say it's neutral. Both of them have excellent cellular call quality and I had no problems regarding the same. Next, if we move to battery life, here I see a huge difference between both these devices. Let's first talk about this LE1S. I would say in my normal usage scenarios, I could manage just around 4 hours of screen on time, barely around 4 hours of screen on time. And the best that I got from this LE1S was 4.5 hours of screen on time. And that's mostly on Wi-Fi. But if we talk about this Redmi Note 3, I would say the battery life is its biggest strength. And I would say in my normal usage, I could get over 6.5 hours of screen on time with this Redmi Note 3. I even got a screen on time of about 7.5 hours. So in terms of battery life, this Redmi Note 3 wins by a huge margin in my opinion. But again, I would say if you're sort of a normal user, both these devices will last for a typical working day. But if you're sort of a very heavy user, then certainly the Redmi Note 3 will be the device for you because of its superior battery life. Next, if we move to the SIM cards, both of these are dual SIM devices. But again, I would give the vote here to the Redmi Note 3 because this LE1S does not have any micro SD card expansion slot. Again, it's not ideal even on this Redmi Note 3. It's a hybrid SIM solution. So you can use actually 2 SIM cards or 1 SIM card or a micro SD card slot. So if you need that SD card support, the Redmi Note 3 has that. Now moving to sensors, I would say both these devices have all the important sensors, but the LE1S does not have the gyroscope sensor. So for example, if you want to experience that VR videos or YouTube 360 videos, that is not possible on this LE1S. Whereas the Redmi Note 3 has the gyroscope sensor, so you can experience VR and also 360 degrees videos with the Redmi Note 3. Lastly, if we talk about the camera performance, which is sort of very interesting, I would say that the LE1S camera performance was pretty pathetic before the software update that I got. But just about a couple of weeks ago, I got a software update on this LE1S, and surprisingly now, I would say the camera performance is slightly better than the Redmi Note 3, particularly in artificial lighting. In outdoor lighting, both these devices take very good pictures, but in artificial lighting and low lighting conditions, if I have to pick up one, I would say the LE1S has slight advantage in terms of the camera performance. But again, as I've mentioned, both these devices are actually pretty good devices. So you have to decide based on your priorities. Personally, for me, I would pick the Redmi Note 3 because of the simple fact that it has a way better battery life and also the screen quality is a little bit better in terms of color reproduction. I'm very picky about the color reproduction regarding the screen. So my vote would go for the Redmi Note 3. But again, this LE1S is also an excellent device. I've already posted my review for this LE1S, so you can check out that for more info. Again, I hope you found this video helpful. If you found it helpful, I'll appreciate if you can click the like button, and if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. This is Ranjit, and I hope to see you in my next video.